How does a 23-year-old American girl from New Jersey, college-bound 4 years ago, end up in a remote Himalayan village raising over 200 children who have been orphaned as a result of disease and civil war? My story began exactly 5 years ago. I knew very little about myself and what I wanted in my life and the inside sort of things. And I was really lucky I woke up with that feeling at 18. So I deferred college. I put off my university for what I thought was going to be a year. And I packed up a backpack with very few belongings. And I decided to take a trip around the world. I had never really traveled, never left my country. I was walking down the road one day when I locked eyes with this little girl. Her name is Laukora. And I soon came to know that this was her job. She's a child porter. And her job every day was to take loads, this is about 60 kg, from the bus park all the way into the villages. And she'd go back and forth all day. And as we know, child labor, this is the reality of it. She'd make $1, $2 in the day to feed her family. This is the life of a Nepalese orphan. This is the life of an orphan child in our world today. I looked at her and I saw every single piece of myself. And I was devastated. I thought, what have we done as a human family that our children are living this way? I thought of myself. I saw every single piece of myself in this child. And I thought, oh God, I grew up with a trampoline in my backyard, and I was on the soccer field, and I was going to my first dance when I was her age. And my whole world just collapsed in a second. And I soon kept reading, and I found out that there were 80 million children just like her in the world. And I was devastated. I was ashamed to be a part of this human family, that this is the way our children were living. And these girls would pick up dry rocks on the side of a riverbed and break them into smaller pieces, and they would sell them. And then I met one particular girl. Her name was Hema, and this is Hema here. She was 7 years old, and she was one of those children on the side of the dry riverbed. But every day when I walked to meet her, she'd just smile with these big bright eyes, and she'd say, "Namaste, Didi." And some days she would be picking up garbage, but every day it was the same smile and the same look, and it captured me. And I thought for the first time, okay, Maggie, forget the 1 million kids. Forget the 80 million. What if you just started with Hema? Is there something that you can do to change the life of just one child? What if I just supported the education of this one child? How would her life change? And this is Hema a couple of weeks later. I put her into school and followed and tracked her progress. And the thing about this work that I do is that it's very addicting. So I thought, okay, one kid, if I could do one, why not 10? Why not 5? What if my dream was to walk across this dry riverbed one day and not see a single child breaking stone? That's what I want. I want to create a world that I want to see every day. And I think we have the power to do that. So these were the next 5 girls that I enrolled into school. But the sad thing was that I didn't think it was enough. There were kids that didn't have homes and families, and they were orphans. And one day I had this idea. I found a piece of land, and it just happened to be $5,000. And I wanted to build a home for orphan kids, a home and a school and a base where the kids that couldn't go to school because they didn't have a home, they could call this place their home. And I called up my parents one day and I said, can you send me over my $5,000 of life savings? I had saved up from the time I was about 6 years old, every penny. I babysat starting from the time I was 12 to when I was 18. And sure enough, because my parents are amazing people, they wired over that $5,000, and I bought my first piece of property in Nepal. We had no money left after that, just this vision and this dream, and a couple of shovels, and so all we did is just take those shovels and dig a hole in the ground. That was all we could do, and I just had to get my hands dirty. I had to be a part of it. I could see everything that I wanted to create in my mind, but we didn't have the resources. We just had this sense of hope and that this was the right thing to do. And I didn't have anything left except for a ticket home, and so I went home and I started to babysit. I thought I could babysit and nanny my way into building this home for children. And in just 6 months, we built this. It's a two-story home. It's now the home of 30 orphan children in Nepal. All of them will be the first literate generation of their families, the first girls and boys to get a chance to go to school, learn how to write their own name. We push sustainability. The children grow their own food, their own vegetables. They're a part of the cooking process. We raise goats and turkeys and chickens and cows. Shortly after, just last year actually, I won $100,000 from an organization called DoSomething.org, which was just a dream come true. Things sort of just began to fall into place, going from having no money to all of a sudden having a $100,000 check in my hand to do whatever I wanted. It was amazing. So all of a sudden I had $100,000 in a year to build a school for 200 kids, over 200 children. The school has just opened this past June, and it's a beautiful place. It was made from the earth with clay and stone and bamboo and a tin roof. And the children, all 200 of them, will be, again, the first literate children of their families. They get health care, basic medical treatment, a meal every day, which is usually the only meal that they will receive. And I didn't want this to be a sad story, so Lalkota actually, this is her a year ago, and this is her today in her classroom and in her uniform. It's what I think every girl and every child deserves, is a home and a safe place to live and just their most basic needs. But I think we can do it. I think we all have the power to create something. And I don't think you have to go 8,000 miles away to the foothills of the Himalayas. I think the beauty of all of us is that we have talents and we have gifts. And this just happened to be mine, and I'm really lucky to have found it and created my little slice of heaven, my little paradise. We think of all of the things we don't have instead of the things that we do have. Oh, I could do that if I had more money. I could do that if I had my master's degrees, once I have my PhD, after I'm settled, after I'm established, after I'm famous. Well, what if everything you had was everything you have right now? Your body and your mind and that sense of I can do anything.